We're joined by Gerry from Ireland. Women loving men want to be him.
How's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. What are you up to?
Nothing much, mate. Just back from work about 40 minutes ago. So
Yeah, good man. You had a good day, Gerry?
I've had better days, Russ. I've had better days, trust me.
No, you know what you want to tell your Uncle Porky about?
You ever just want to kill your neighbors?
Oh, yeah, every day, mate, every day.
Yeah, then you know what I'm talking about then.
Oh, you're not arguing over a bit of fence too high or something, is it? Or an edge?
No, just there could be some things on the horizon, i.e.,
Oh, you're not going all roadman on me, Gerry, are you?
an extension being built. So we just don't know what the plans are going to be
Well, tell him
because,
you don't want it. So you're not having it. It'll block our lights. Just tell it that, and it'll drag him out.
well, that I mean, you're actually bang on there because if they're going to make it really small, which seems pointless, uh, I don't see why they would bother. So the location that we've been told that they're going to do it is actually going to cover a window. So I'm not happy about that at all. Like, so might
Right.
have to might have to pursue that via other means.
Well, you'll have to get in touch with Bob. He knows about that kind of thing. He'll help you out.
Probably only Canadian stuff though.
Hey.
What's
Okay.
what?
A couple of deaths. Colin Hart, 90-year-old, Sun columnist since 50, nearly 60 years, isn't it? And George Foreman, age 76. Big George.
Yep.
What's your memories of both men?
Well, Colin Hart was just somebody who I never really got um, boxing, or sorry, I never really read The Sun other than to look at page three. Um,
Jerry.
just being honest, like, um, but yeah, Colin Hart obviously was somebody who would be interviewed after fights and stuff. My memories of him he kind of looked the same back in the '90s whenever I first sort of started watching boxing. But I mean, he had a tremendous career, obviously as a journalist, and you know he's got a hell of a caliber of you know being able to write compared to what people call journalists in the sport of boxing today. So by that you have to give him his dues. He did everything right. He got the right qualifications. He wrote for years and years and years. Um, but I mean, I will say this: like the man was approaching 90. He had a good run, and the fact that I think he sort of disappeared off out of the limelight for a bit, but then he started showing up again. After fights again, like in the last year or two. I hadn't seen him in years, and like I said, he just seemed to pop up again. But he was kind of given he was kind of given some kind of biased Frank Warren type opinions on things, which I thought was a little bit, you know, not great. But like I said, all due respect goes to the journalist that he was. Like you don't have that long a career for nothing. Do you know what I mean? And particularly back then when journalism meant something, it's not quite the same these days because pretty much YouTube journalism's taken over. So, it's a sad loss. I don't actually know the details, but as I said, the man was 90. But getting on to somebody a little bit more significant to me personally, um, George Foreman, bit of a shock to me. Anytime you see George Foreman, he is well jovial and he always looks amazing and well. So I don't know about you, Ross, but I was very surprised unless there was something that he was ill with that was maybe not reported about or something like that. But I haven't heard any details regarding how he died. But I was very surprised at that, and I think it's a great loss that he's one of those legends from the 70s that, you know, the only one left, is Larry Holmes now. Um,
And
later
Steve
70s,
Bunce.
Steve Bunce. So it is quite sad because it is going to be the end of that era in a few, well, not era, but you know what I mean. Those guys from that era, they're eventually not going to be with us for much longer. Do you know what I mean? So George Foreman obviously was a legend because the era he fought in, his style, um, the opponents he fought, and obviously his comeback, which to some extent, well, my first memories of George Foreman were whenever he was in his comeback, and I used to always think, "Who's this?" He used to scare me just looking at him, and that was whenever he was obviously less intimidating. But it was, I don't know, it was just something about him, his bald head, and he just looked like some kind of killing machine, like. And I always knew the name then, George Foreman. So whenever then I kind of got a little bit more interested in boxing, and I think I got like I can't remember the name of it, like, but it was a one of those things where buy the first copy and get this free video type magazine things, and of course, uh, Ali Fraser was the video, so that kind of got me sort of a little bit more interested in things. And I saw George Foreman then with her, and slightly different shape than the Foreman I'd seen on TV. So I was like, "Holy shit! Did that guy look like? Did that guy used to look like that?" So then you obviously kind of find out a little bit more about his career, and there was I believe, as you put it earlier with Anthony, he had two careers, three if you want to include the career as a commentator, a product endorser, and all those other things that he did, all those commercial aspects, which he obviously was very, very successful at. But he didn't really have, obviously, when he won the title first, a lot of defenses. And stats wise, you could maybe kind of clock up that, he wasn't, say, as successful as some other guys who became champion. But it was the other things he did, the Olympic gold medal, the oldest heavyweight champion in history, those type of things. But I mean, nobody can sort of take anything away from Big George Foreman, like, because he is he is a legend, obviously, from that period of time. Do you know what I mean? So it's a shame that he's gone. He seemed like a genuinely great guy. And I feel like I must give that movie that came out about him last year a watch. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that.
is it any good, mate?
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Okay, I have to give that a watch. So
yeah,
that'll be my little bit of tribute. Maybe watch a couple of Foreman fights. I watched him and Lyle recently, actually, so I don't need to watch that one again. But dig out some fights and get them watched.
yeah. What did you think to Foreman's CV, Gerry, overall? Because he had like two careers, didn't he? 81 fights.
I mean, he obviously fought a lot of the greats in the 70s, right? But to some extent, you could say his record had a lot of you know, a lot of guys who weren't such high profile. Do you know what I mean? But some people's careers are like that, and then eventually they fight the right people, and obviously, they get that name on their CV. But there is quite a lot of names, particularly at the start of his career, and then going into the early years of his comeback. His CV is good though. Like, I don't think you can knock it really. Compared to other people, it's maybe not so um, so glittering. Do you know what I mean? But I think his CV is good. Like, he fought all the right guys. Obviously, though, the end of his first career, when he was younger, I think ended abruptly. But we all know the story. Like, you know, after that Jimmy Young defeat, he, you know, I think it sort of stole his soul a little bit, and I think he'd already suffered from the Ali fight as well, realizing he was, you know, he wasn't as invincible as he perhaps believed.
Yeah,
And once that psychological element goes, that can really destroy, a fighter. We've seen it loads of times. Jerry Cooney, same sort of thing. Once Larry Holmes done him, that was it. Joe Calzaghe against Jeff Lacey, you know, stole his soul, never the same guy after. So I think to an extent that happened with George Foreman, but what happened and what was amazing was George Foreman came back, but he obviously had that extra drive to help him defeat that psychological aspect. So that's amazing. That is amazing.
yeah. He got 7 wins over world champions. Obviously, got a couple over Fraser, and he's got 5 wins over another 6 guys. Was it 5 guys? Yeah, 5 wins over another 5 guys, and got 2 wins over Fraser. Hasn't he? So his career, he's beat some good guys, hasn't he? Really, but he's the guys he's lost to. Jimmy Young, you wouldn't say he were world class, but Muhammad Ali, Holyfield, Tommy Morrison, Shannon Biggs. I mean, whew, some list that in it. Though he's lost,
Yeah,
but he's been in with him, hasn't he?
yeah. It was it Jilly Ellis had the belt. I always get Jimmy Ellis and Jimmy Young mixed up.
Yeah, I do. Jimmy Ellis was a former champion, yeah.
Yeah, okay. He had the WBA, I think.
WBA, didn't he? But Jimmy Young once, he was a challenger. Though. I think he'd fought for the title, but he never won it. But he beat him on points, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Outboxed him, gave him a boxing lesson, apparently. The Ron Lyle fight, I remember that very well because I've seen it that many times at Big Ron's.
I
They got,
remember
they
the
knocked
story.
up. They were like Nazim, Kevin Kelly, wasn't it that one?
Yeah. I can't stop laughing at that story about you telling me about Big Ron, and that's
Well,
how
every
Big
time
Ron
I go
got
back
Big
to
Ron.
Big Ron, do you think you're going back for a game of snooker, but he puts Foreman Lyle on and then passes out and settee on you? That's Dennis's party trick, that. Yeah, let's go
Brilliant.
back to mine. We'll put a right fight on, and then we'll put that on, or Clinton Woods against Roy Jones, where at the end they say commentator. I'm not sure if it's in with blonde hair now. Who's still at HBO. I think he turns around and he goes, "Dennis Hobson saved his man, Clinton Woods." Dennis threw up toweling, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
So, which is fair enough, but
What is
they like Ron Lyle, George Foreman, Dennis, and his dad, his late
yeah.
father. But because it's a great heavyweight fight, isn't it? It's a classic, isn't it?
It could have went either way. It could actually
Yeah.
set Al up for probably, a little bit more success. But again, that took something out of his soul as well, that fight.
What do you think to Tommy Morrison, George Foreman fight? Have you ever seen that, Gerry?
I have, yeah. Well, first of all, I have to start that by saying, like, what happened to Tommy Morrison is just tragic.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's the master of his own destiny, and a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
is his own fault. But yeah, I did watch that fight,
Shagging
and I
loads of
remember,
women and taking loads of drugs and not washing yourself in between and all that, sleeping
yeah,
about.
I mean, it's only right,
I mean,
like, to
what are
get
you
the truth.
supposed to do when you're the champ anyway?
Well, at least wash your balls with TCP after, like.
Salty water if you can't afford TCP.
Exactly, but I'm sure he was on enough money. He could have afforded, like, about 20 bottles of TCP. Like,
Wow.
anyway, that was a good fight. But obviously Morrison flipped the script on that one and decided to box. And I think he admitted anyway he was just terrified of getting destroyed by George Foreman. So if I was Tommy Morrison, that's what I would have done. It was an enjoyable fight, like, because you felt like any moment, you know, somebody could go, So he did the right thing. The thing is, though, Morrison could have employed that sort of discipline at other stages in his career, and I actually think he would have been more successful.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah, but well, the rest is history. Like so, that's a good fight. The I like the Holyfield fight as well. Um, and the Dwight Mohammed Kwai one I thought was quite competitive
yeah,
until it sort of got to the middle, and then like he just started to wear Kwai down. I thought for a midget, he did really good. Like
yeah. Do you remember when he did more, don't you, though, Foreman?
yeah, yeah.
What did you make of that fight? Obviously, you've seen it, Gerry. What did you make of it?
Well, he was pretty much losing that fight on points, wasn't he? And you know he gets the knockdown. Was it 10 round 10?
Yeah,
I need to check that. He gets the knockout anyway, and I have to say, um, I like everybody else did not think George Foreman was going to win that fight, but the kind of um, wanting the underdog to win, always kind of had me sort
yeah.
of holding on to that.
Hooked on the fight, yeah. Should we say
Yeah.
Gerry?
And then obviously when he flattens him, you're kind of looking at it and going, unbelievable. What I wanted to happen has happened. That never happens. But I'm also looking at Michael Moore and that look in his eyes, that glazed look, and I'm thinking, that's your career absolutely screwed now. Do you know what I mean? But enjoyable fight for the shock factor. But when you know what's going to happen, it's kind of not quite the same as obviously whenever it took place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's big shout out to Peter De Freitas. He's not very well, Peter. He's got major problems at the moment. So that's all I know, but I'll keep you all updated.
It's a shame to hear that.
Yeah, it's bad, isn't it? Cancer, isn't it? I think.
Oh, it's terrible, mate.
Oh, I hope he's all right, Peter. I like him. He's leading, by the way, this month for the 100 quid. We're weeks to go.
He's always great.
Yeah, he always
He's always
speaks
great.
well, doesn't he, Peter? Very well
Absolutely,
respected.
100%.
Okay, Fury and Joshua. Right, they're saying that it's in talks again, aren't they? And there's a strong possibility they could pull it off because it's only fight. But other people are seeming to think that Dylan White could be in mix and Joshua. Where do you stand on it all? Is it Fury or is it White for Joshua?
Oh, that's. I mean, they're both sickeners, Russ. It has to be Fury and Joshua because I don't think those guys. Fair enough. They're yesterday's news, right? But at least they have come down from the top. Dillian White hasn't been anywhere near, being relevant in years. He really hasn't. I mean, you could make an argument that when he was the mandatory and he actually fought Fury, well, he was mandatory, but no, he really, he really hasn't meant anything in that long. That how the hell does he even get spoken about in the same sentence? So by that logic, for me, I have to say, if there's any chit chat going on about any of this, it's got to be Fury and Joshua, just to put it to bed and let us all know who actually would have won between the two of them.
Because it's gone on 14 years since this bar now, hasn't it?
It's ridiculous, ridiculous.
Too long, Jez, isn't it? You think?
It's too long. It's too long, but at the same time, there is that little bit of interest still because you kind of want to see who would do who and who's got what left because that's going to be demoralizing for Fury, demoralizing for Anthony Joshua because well he's mentally trashed, like
Yeah.
so I'd want to see what happened between them, but I mean it doesn't hold the excitement that it once did because of where they are in their career. So you know ideal time would have been about maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, do you want to go on to part two, Jezza?
No worries, mate. See you in part two
Cheers,
or part
mate.
two. Yeah.
See you all on part two. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Or if you want to get personal and up close, porkycorner@mail.com. That's in your bottom left hand corner.